Alright, so now we are all covered here. Got our hinges all ready and they're dry. And I have already gotten our pages set to go. So what I did, oh gosh, y'all, I'm a mess. What I did was cut, since we're going to make 5 pages, I went ahead and cut 5 sheets of paper at 11 and 5.5, 11 by 5.5, and then I scored them right in the middle at 5.5. So the paper is 11 by 5.5, and then I scored it at 5.5 so that they will be able to fold right down the middle. So then I also made some little, I want to make some flaps to go on here. So what I did was I cut several sheets of paper, and it just kind of depends on how you want to do this. You probably, since you're gonna have 10 of these, you're gonna have 5 of these times 2 of these, so you probably will need about 10 of these little squares. So the squares are measured at 4 3/4 by 5.5. So what I did was, on the 5.5 side, I'm scoring all of these at 5. And that's going to give me a little bit of a flap. Now, on Dina's video, she scored these a little higher at, she scored them at 5 1/4. I don't know. For me, it was just easier to work with the larger flap. And the page, and I created one. The page doesn't look so bad when it is a little higher up. Gives you a little bit of a peek under. So I just decided to do mine a little bit higher up and make that score line a little further in. You know, you do you on yours. The smaller score line works. Your pages are not as high up. As a matter of fact, I will do a couple of them like that because, you know, I mean, it's an album, right? You're going to be creative. And, you know, if you mess up, who's going to tell you that you messed up? Somebody that you give it to? Then just take it back. So I'll do a couple of pages at that length. So I did most of them at 5, and these I'm doing at 5 1/4, just for the longer page. Make sure 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3, and I need to score this one at 5 because it needs a partner. So I have 10 of these, and so I've pulled back out my red line tape because it's going to be a lot easier. So let me grab one of these folded papers and 2 of these. Now what I want is a pocket on the inside like this for just some journaling space or whatever, whatever the person would want to put there. And then I also want a place on the front that I can mat and have photo or journaling, and then a flip up. So that's why these little score lines were important. So I am going to use my red line tape to do this because it's faster. I gotta get some more tearing tape because this red line tape is a pain to work with. It sticks like the dickens, but it is a pain to work with. So I've decided that I want this to be kind of like a little travel journal for the summer. If I ever get out of this COVID prison, we can get out and travel, and I want to go visit family and see some unusual sights. My kids and I are really into like strange roadside attraction kind of things, and so there's a place in New Mexico called Meow Wolf that we want to go and see. And then last summer we kind of camped New Mexico, and we're in Texas, but camping in New Mexico was a different kind of heat, man. You know, we have this moist heat like here in Texas, and boy, that heat in New Mexico was killer, even for us Texans. Alright, so there we have one flip up, and let me see if I can, oops, I'm about to mess up. And then we're going to push that all the way on there. And then there. And so that is the little page. Now, what I'm going to do on the inside is I'm going to go ahead and lay down my red line tape to close off the inside. I know y'all gonna say, you and that glue, but I'm gonna go back and put some glue in here to make sure that it's good and closed. And let's see, we're gonna put tape across the bottom because I do want this to be a pocket, which is why I said I'm going to put tape in there, because sometimes glue in there, because sometimes I think that the things you push in there might stick to your tape. Now, I'm going to need tape on this side because I'm going to be taping this and adhering it to the inside of the flap. So I hope that you all will be able to see this really well, because this, when I saw her do this, I was like, oh my gosh. All right, so one piece of tape off, kind of center it on the book, and then we're just gonna stick that on there. Make sure it's stuck down real good. Now, I want to put glue to make sure that it's going to be adhered. So I'm just going to run a little bit of my glue right down the bottom of the page. And I'm going to pull my tape on this side. My goodness, it won't. There it goes. Well, I thought. And, alright. What are you thinking? And straighten that back out. So now we have it glue taped to the back side of that, and then it's just as simple as taping it to the front of the hinge, giving it a good burnishing, making sure that's all stuck down real good, and then right across the bottom, making sure that that's all stuck too. Now, if I look down in there, I got a little tiny pocket, y'all, and my first page. So page 1 will go in there like that, and then page 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be exactly the same way. Now, what I'm going to do, because I don't want to bore people to death, and I don't want a video that's like 5 hours long, I'm going to go ahead and pause here. I'm going to put all these pages back in. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show like just some of the paper. Oh, and I want to put a pocket up here, and I just want to kind of document how I make the pocket for this. I probably should have done that first, but I didn't, so oh well. I'm going to put the pages in and then just kind of try to attempt to put some paper colors, some paper choices together. And then I'll show at the and then I'm not going to like show me decorating this whole thing, because first of all, I'm not that great at it, but then secondly, it's a long process. So the page is in. I'm going to put in the pages, and I'll be back in just a few minutes.